In May 2012, he released a collaboration with Michael Ackerfeld of Opeth. So Michael, I'm sorry if that's not how you say your name. And is the name of your band Opeth or Opeth? I've heard both. And again, perhaps I should try to track down an interview where you say the name of the band and educate myself. But until then, I'll just babble on video and confuse other people. Anyway, Steven Wilson has quite a history with Opeth, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But at this time, he released this duo collaboration, Storm Corrosion, and it's very cool. It has quite a bit of melody, textures, soundscapiness going on. I really like this album. I've heard it several times, and I really can't point out highlights because to me the album just kind of comes on and it flows and I love it and it's just an enjoyable experience and then it's over. If you YouTube Storm Corrosion, YouTube will recommend a couple of the tracks, and that's where I would start. Those would be arguably the highlights, so you're going to be okay if you want to go check out Storm Corrosion that way. But I'm telling you, this is actually in my top half of preferred Steven Wilson multi-channel works. It's a very, very pleasant experience. As you can see from the artwork, you know, it's a little bit darkly themed, but I find it to be enjoyable, entertaining. Neil Palfreman on Quadraphonic Quad says, "What a revelation and what a stunning mix. To hear all these songs that I already knew well open up so exquisitely in the surround sound field is an absolute joy. Like a lot of other people, I've been playing the Raven quite a lot, ! And hearing Storm Corrosion in surround made me appreciate it as a precursor to the Raven. Not so much musically, but from a production and mixing point of view for sure. It exhibits the same incredible clarity, separation of the instrumentation, attention to detail, beautiful layering and creative use of the surround field that Raven does. Having said that, it has, in my humble opinion, much more ambience than the Raven, and really showcases the treatment of Steven's vocal. Just listen to the clarity and crispness when he takes a breath before coming in on the Hag. Pure magic." So Neil, we're in agreement, and I couldn't have said it any better than that, and I'm not home, so I can't refresh my memory right now, so thank you for that review. Definitely pick up Storm Corrosion. It's highly, highly, highly recommended. And here we have Steven and Michael chillin', photo op, some pretty cool mossy rocks. Then in September 2012, Get All You Deserve was released. This, I believe, would be the first Steven Wilson solo live concert video, as opposed to Porcupine Tree. And as with his live stuff, his forte, it's fairly discreet. Some comments claim that it's possibly not as discreet as some of his other live stuff, but the counterpoint to that is that some songs here are preferred by many listeners to the studio versions. So this is a worthy addition to your collection. I would not prioritize it quite as highly as anesthetize, but it's definitely a worthy addition to your collection if you're going to sit and watch concerts from time to time. And here's the back of the Blu-ray. Apparently this was, again, a Blu-ray DVD combo. I can't vouch for what my set is like, but I bet it is. Lots of cool songs. The highlights from Grace for Drowning, I would say. Pretty cool concert. So I will definitely be enjoying it from time to time. It's a keeper. And here are the guys jamming out some Steven Wilson tunes. This is sort of what the Blu-ray looks like. Very blue. Now, in February 2013, a marvelous, marvelous thing occurred. Steven Wilson's solo, The Raven That Refused to Sing, was released. In my opinion, the best Steven Wilson solo album. I haven't heard all of his stuff. Maybe he's put all of his stuff out in multi-channel, but it's definitely my top pick for Steven Wilson solo multi-channel album. This album, a bit dark, a little bit sad, but in my opinion, fulfilling, uplifting. This album is just, it's just wonderful. It definitely pays a lot of homage to 70s prog, but it still has Steven's own style. It's not trying to copy anybody, but it definitely has a 70s instrumental, organic, classic quality to it. So there's lots of guitar work, drums, mellotron. I don't think there's really anything on it that would imply that it were arranged from the 1980s onward. So there's nothing that sounds particularly modern. And I think that's cool because a lot of the artwork and some of the videography sets this album as almost a period piece. And so I think it's cool that it does not have modern instrumentation. It definitely sounds well recorded, clean. It benefits from modern technology, but just has this kind of timeless classic feeling. And here's the back, just to the point. There's your songs. I can't recommend this album highly enough. We get Luminol, which happened to appear on the live concert, Get All You Deserve. Drive Home is a standout. The Raven That Refused to Sing is one of the prettiest. It's one of the prettiest songs I've ever heard. It's a little heartbreaking, but in a good way. You really have to check this album out. But, man, over Fear of a Blank Planet, between that one and this one, I can't decide. They're different. This one feels like more 70s prog, and Fear of a Blank Planet is more like early late 90s prog metal. Don't choose between them. Get them both. Please. If you're watching this video, you probably already have them. But if you don't, do yourself a favor. Please, please, please go get these two albums. Then in September 2013, Aviv and Steven released Blackfield 4. Now I hear a lot of Blackfield fans wish that they would go ahead and release the earlier Blackfield albums in surround, I guess 1, 2, and 3. And then there was something called Something About My DNA or whatever. But I went back and auditioned some of that earlier stuff on YouTube, and I actually like Blackfield 4 and Blackfield 5 better than the earlier stuff. So I don't know. It could be that they have already released the best of their material in multi-channel. The Live in New York City concert, Blackfield 4, and then, as we'll see in a little bit, Blackfield 5. So I'm pretty happy. I have managed to order a copy of Blackfield 4, but I've never been able to hear it in multi-channel. It's waiting for me at home. SMS on Quadraphonic Quad says, the fidelity is okay, but not stellar. The 5.1 mix is good, but not as brilliant as some of Steven Wilson's other work. Then again, I don't think the music lends itself to a really aggressive mix. The rears are used mostly for strings and vocal harmonies, as the previous poster mentioned. It works quite well. Here we get the back. Got a bit of a satellite dish theme going on. Very cool stuff, guys. I look forward to hearing this when I get home. All right, in November 2013, we were treated to Drive Home. There are a couple of new songs here, like The Birthday Party. There's some live stuff, but really, I think the main value of this set are the videos for Drive Home and The Raven. Man, they are quite an experience. Absolutely worth the price of this disc. The style of the videos is pretty unique, at least in my opinion. I hadn't really ever seen anything like it upon first putting this disc on. Very enjoyable, even with paper mache, stop motion, or however they did this. A lot of emotion is portrayed. And I feel that stylistically this so very well fits the music. So absolutely check out this Blu-ray, I would put it in the top half of priority. Now, March 2015, Hand Cannot Erase. This is just such a friggin' great album. What I like about it is that it's not The Raven That Refused to Sing Part 2. Steven Wilson refuses to make the same record twice, and I really respect that. I happen to like Raven a little bit more, but Hand Cannot Erase is still dark, it's still complex. It tells a very tragic story of somebody so alone that nobody knew she was dead in her apartment for a long time, and it traces her life from childhood to death. It's a beautiful album. We see him during various moments of this album start to get a little poppy in a way that Raven never does. Raven is unapologetically prog with some jazzy elements, and Hand is definitely driving more toward pop rock, but in a complex way. So this record really hits a sweet spot for me. I like pop, but I can burn out on it really fast, and I've never burned out on Hand Cannot Erase. I've probably listened to it just about as much as Raven. So this is an absolute must. If I recall correctly, this is a postcard that came with many orders. I have my postcard. Get this cryptic writing throughout a lot of the artwork. Hand Cannot Erase, again, is an album that came as a super deluxe version, which I did have once upon a time, but I never opened it, and I traded it to someone else for a bunch of multi-channel albums. If you have the super deluxe version, you actually get these letters and all kinds of artifacts from this fictitious lady's life, and I've heard it's a very impressive experience. And here's an image from the video made for Routine. This video was projected in back of the stage for the Hand Cannot Erase tour, if I remember correctly. And man, if Routine wasn't already a huge heartbreaker, this video really drives that home. But one cool thing that I remember from the Steven Wilson concert that I saw, Hand Cannot Erase tour, that'll always stick with me, when he was introducing Routine, he called it the saddest song he had ever written. But he, I think by way of trying to explain why he writes a lot of sad music, he said something really cool. He said that sad music is important because it can connect to people in a way that happy music can't. Happy music has its place in this world. We all need to celebrate together from time to time. But sad music lets people know that someone else feels the way they do when they're at their lowest, when they're really in need. So very cool, Steven, good on you. I like sad music every now and then. Routine is beautiful, well done. Pick up Hand Cannot Erase, please, please, please. Now, in November 2015, the world was treated to Damnation on the Deliverance and Damnation set. Now, Steven Wilson has been a long-time collaborator with Opeth. Not so much anymore these days, I don't think, but he definitely had a good run there. He was involved in Blackwater Park, though he didn't mix it, so I have not included it here. He mixed and provides a lot of performances for Damnation. So Deliverance and Damnation. Deliverance is a heavy Opeth album, and Damnation was the beginning of their lighter side. Edison Baggins on Quadraphonic Quad says, "Friggin' gorgeous. If you like Heritage and Pale Communion, this is a must. This is where that style began. Wonderful mix. Very important elements in the rears, but nothing gimmicky. The packaging sucketh muchly, but don't let that stop you." Well said, EB. This is definitely a cool package to pick up. I think it was put out very affordably. Hopefully it still is. The DVDs and CDs are basically just slipped into these little gaps in the cardboard, so be careful. And I don't like Deliverance as much as Damnation, just because I don't like the multi-channel mix quite as well. But it could be good driving music. I have a CD player in my car, so I'll try that out sometime. But Damnation and multi-channel is really the reason to get this set. January 2016, Steven Wilson gave us 4.5. He called it this because he felt it wasn't quite an album, and it was dropping between his 4th and 5th albums. I guess he already had his 5th album in mind. So he called this 4.5. It is a bit of an EP, but in my opinion, it really feels like a short album in its own right. It features leftover bits from Hand Cannot Erase and Raven, a reworked Stupid Dream song, Don't Hate Me, which I really like, a duet with Ninette, several instrumentals, and some really cool artwork. Here's the back. Good luck reading that. You got your typical mix, song listing information. These two young ladies are featured throughout the Blu-ray menus. They're quite lovely to look at, and no complaints from me. February 2017, we get Blackfield 5. And as I said before, I've actually auditioned some Blackfield on YouTube, and though I've never heard Blackfield 5 in multi-channel, and I haven't found it at a price I'm comfortable with yet, I am looking for it. I don't think it'll end up being in like my top half of preferred Steven Wilson stuff, but I think it's worth checking out, so I'm going to try to find it. Steven Wilson, Bruce Sword, Simon Bloor all get mixing credits. Bruce Sword is definitely someone that is going to come up a lot in many of my videos, being a member of the Pineapple Thief and putting out his own solo material and helping other bands get mixed into surround. He's becoming a bit Steven Wilson-like himself and really benefiting the surround community, so much appreciation there. Bruce, you will get your day in these videos, so thank you for your contributions. Again, like I said, Blackfield fans generally find 1 and 2 to be strongest and would like to see those released in surround, but I beg to differ. So, you know, if you like Blackfield a lot, I'd love to hear your opinion, or if you go audition their work, I'd love to know what you think. I think that 4, 5, and the live video are quite well representative of what Blackfield does best. Of course, here's the back of the Blu-ray. August 2017, Steven Wilson releases To the Bone. Now, I was still home when this got released, but I was in a bit of a funk. I really liked Raven and Hand Cannot Erase quite a lot, and when I went and auditioned this album on YouTube, it didn't engage me right away. And I really felt like Steven was making this very aggressive push toward being a pop star. And so anyway, I've checked out this album in stereo, but not in multi-channel yet. I've since repented of my ways, and this album is waiting for me in multi-channel at home. And I have a feeling that the multi-channel experience is going to really draw me into this music. Looking back on other bands that I really love, like Rush, I bet hardcore fans who loved Farewell to Kings, Hemispheres, Permanent Waves were pretty offended when Moving Pictures came out. And even though that album is now ultra classic and obviously a wonderful, wonderful artistic event and a great move for the band commercially in terms of popularity and, you know, just a successful album in every right, I bet hardcore Rush fans at the time, at least some of them, were highly offended. Because it does just sound more commercial than Permanent Waves, especially Hemispheres, especially A Farewell to Kings. So, you know what? I have to cut Steven Wilson some slack. Let's just chalk it up to me really, really being a fan of his work that came before this. And, you know, Steven was pretty smart with his record label and with his strategy. They dropped this album kind of at the right time of year and promoted it in just such a way that I think this is legitimately a #1 album. So good on you, Steven. I'm going to give this album its fair shot. The tremendous benefit that you've been to the surround community, I think, at least deserves that. But this album didn't grab me right away, so I would recommend this one only hesitantly after you have checked out Raven, Storm Corrosion, Fear of a Blank Planet, and Drive Home. Here's the back of the Blu-ray, giving you your mix information. 9624, Captain. Then you get Songs of I and Pariah videos, a making of, so pretty cool stuff. Here's some of the artwork that you would be treated to if you pick up the deluxe book. Now, sometime in 2018, I wasn't home. I think it was like pretty early 2018 though, February or March. Porcupine Tree re-released Arriving Somewhere on Blu-ray. Thank you so much, guys. I love this show a lot. And now we don't have to listen to it compressed. We can listen to it losslessly in Blu-ray quality. So I totally appreciate that. That's the only thing to say about this, that a band went back and released a really, really wonderful DVD on Blu-ray. So thank you for doing that. And it was a super affordable too. I think I got it for like 12 bucks. So it was a total no-brainer. More than happy to support the multi-channel endeavors of Mr. Wilson and company. So thank you for doing this. I'm very much looking forward to checking it out when I get home and probably chucking that DVD or giving it to someone in need. And here is the little European thingy that comes on the front of European stuff. I don't really know what that means. If anyone out there knows what that means, a lot of times my European acquisitions come with like a 6 or a 0 or whatever on the front. And here's the back, giving you your track listing and a bit of other information, Blu-ray features. Anyway, thank you K-Scope, thank you Porcupine Tree for doing this. And forthcoming, we have the latest Steven Wilson concert from Royal Albert Hall. So congratulations, Steven. That is quite an accomplishment to have played there. This tour focuses on the To the Bone album, but you get lots of tidbits from Hand Cannot Erase, Raven, some earlier Steven Wilson efforts, and even a couple of Porcupine Tree tidbits, I believe. So I'm definitely looking forward to checking this out. His production quality is just top-notch. He cares very much about his shows. So I bet this is going to be a tremendous treat. Very much looking forward to it. So this guy, what a benefit to the surround community. Mr. Steven Wilson, if you ever watch this video, I just want to say thank you. I don't love all your work, but I admire your courage and I respect the breadth and the depth to which you've gone with your own material, from like the ultra poppy end To the Bone, which really isn't all that poppy if you look at pop music as a whole, and then down toward like the bass communion end of things, which you purposefully put out some pretty inaccessible stuff. That's cool. I think that's way cooler than if you'd just striven to always put out something very popular. And there's something there for everybody. There are people who I've seen comments that they like your bass communion stuff better than Porcupine Tree. So you know what? There's no accounting for taste. I really admire your personal contributions to multi-channel music. And again, I'll also be reviewing your remixes and mixes for other bands in multi-channel. The importance of Steven Wilson, y'all, to multi-channel music as it exists today, it would be very difficult to overstate it. Not only are his own contributions numerous, but other artists and engineers and producers are following suit, like I said with Bruce Sword. And so a tremendous debt of gratitude is owed, and this man has brought much entertainment, much enjoyment, much empathy, much growth to my life, and I really appreciate it. So I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I hope that you are encouraged to enjoy more of Steven Wilson's work. And if you don't have some of these albums and you're interested, I hope you go track them down, and I'd look forward to seeing your comments here and on Quadraphonic Quad. Thank you for joining me once again for Life in Surround, and until next time, remember, live life in surround. As some of you know, I've been away from home this year in Southwest Asia in the Middle East. And I'll take this moment to comment that I'm sitting in a USO music room right now. I'm able to sign it out for an hour at a time. It's relatively quiet, but there occasionally are the sounds of pool table and sports games and just people generally making racket, because this is borrowed space. I'm very, very, very fortunate that the USO is even here and that I can sign this room out for an hour. But I don't have total control over sound, and I want to offer this as an encouragement that starting somewhere around November, I'm going to be upping this channel like crazy. I'll be at my home studio with better video, better microphones, a more convenient and controllable environment with a nice set. So hang in there. These videos, these early videos are meant for me to get my feet wet and to explore some important topics in surround, but more professional level album reviews and higher quality video and audio are coming. So please subscribe, tell your friends, all that kind of stuff, but understand that my intent is to keep upping this channel as we go.